All right, welcome back to Model Monday, part 2. We are working on our custom sunglasses that we're going to eventually cut out on the Carvera Air right behind me here. And I am wearing the sunglasses right now. Last week we drew hinges. This week, lenses. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop out this lens here. Link in the description below to where I got these lenses on Amazon, so you can get yourself a pair as well if you want to join me and draw these exact same ones, or you could find your own lenses and model them that are all different than this. Make your own custom pair of sunglasses. So, without further ado, jumping into Fusion 360 here. All right, so we're going to start this project the same way we started the last one, drawing the hinges. We're going to attach a canvas, and here I've already got my the image that I took of the lens. There we go. It's going to do a thing here. If I go back to regular screen mode. It's doing that thing where I can't click in the right spot. All right, we're going to try to roll with this. So I'm just going to expand it to be... Nope. All right, hold on. I got to pause this recording and try again. Fusion is doing this thing that it likes to do where it wants to click on something that is not where my mouse is. So it only does this when I'm recording. I'm going to pause here. All right, so we're back. I just had to restart Fusion. So now we've got a canvases folder here. We can right-click on this image inside of this canvases folder. Say, hey, I want to calibrate this image. And I am going to zoom in. And I am going to measure from this corner to this corner with my calipers on my actual lens here. This is 61 millimeters. So, 61 millimeters. I'm going to change my document settings here to last week we drew in millimeters. Probably going to draw this in millimeters as well, just because that's how a lot of these measurements just end up working out to be nice round numbers. Because go figure, people manufacture things to an international standard. All right, so last week we had the advantage of having a lot of straight lines. This week that is not the case. So when we create our sketch here, I am going to basically be using just a lot of spline here. So from the create menu, I'm going to choose that fit point spline option. And I'm kind of imagining these lenses being made up of, like, I guess 8 different curves here. So I'm going to kind of place some control points down where I think the individual radiuses are stopping and starting. And once I complete my circle here, actually, that's not bad. So I've still got my spline tool in my hand here. So I'm going to hit the escape key to put that spline tool away. And now I can take these control points and I can move them around. I'm going to zoom in because I want to get this as close as I possibly can to my sketch. To my picture, I'm sorry. So if I click on that control point, I just need to expand that out a little bit. And down here, I'm going to expand this out a little bit. I do this method of like drawing over the top of a canvas for projects like this that are just going to have a lot of weird curves in them. I don't have a good way to measure these funny looking curves. So, really the only way for me to match them is to just try to guess. Which is not necessarily the best way of doing this, but it's the method that I have. So, the best tool is the one that you have access to. Here it looks like I need to move that point where it's not going to match up nicely. I will say, though, that the link that I put in the description below to this Fusion file is not going to be to this particular Fusion file. What I did is after I made this shape, I made like a test shape here, and we'll probably design that too, so you can print a test shape as well, so I could test the fit of my lens. And I had to make several test fit shapes before, just kind of coming back and tweaking this curve. Like I said, this is an imprecise method, and the glasses lens frame interaction here needs to be really precise. So it's going to be some trial and error if you use lenses that are not this lens. If you use this lens, then again, link in the description below to this Fusion file. But the point here is for you to learn how to do this for yourself. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and say finish sketch. I am going to turn off my canvas because we don't need it anymore. Where is my origin? There it is. So now from my create menu, I'm going to choose to create a sketch. Oh, I had something selected. So I'm going to delete that sketch I just made. Somehow I had something selected when I said, hey, create a sketch. So when I created a sketch, it chose to have the thing that I have selected was apparently a plane or a sketch, and it created another sketch right on top of that. That is not what I want to do, so I'm clicking off here into no man's land, so I have nothing selected. I'm going to twist my twist my navigation cube in that top right-hand corner. And now, when I create a sketch, I can create it on this plane that would divide my sunglasses in half. And right off the bat, I want to project over some existing geometry. So if I want to take some sketch information or information from a body and bring it over onto the sketch that I'm currently drawing on, I can use this project option here. And the thing that I want to project is a specified entities, and I'm just going to hover over this line here, and I'm just going to select that line. That is my sketch curve or my spline viewed from an angle. And now if I grab my line tool and I just draw from one end to the other, and then I find the midpoint of that line and I draw straight down. I'm sorry, let's draw straight up. I'm going to draw straight up, I believe. And then what I'm doing here to measure my lens here is I'm just setting it on the table. So it is curve up like that. I'm sorry, curve down, I guess. So it's convex looking on the table. And then I'm going to take my calipers and I'm just going to measure the difference between the top of the lens and the surface of the table. So if I measure that distance, it is 6.5 millimeters. So 6.5 millimeters. And I'm going to hit enter. And now I just need to take I'm going to grab my arc tool, my 3-point arc tool. I'm going to draw an arc from way over here to way over here, and I'm just going to make sure it intersects with this point right here. So I've got an arc here drawn, and I just need to add some constraints that finish off my arc. I want my arc to extend out past the edges of my line, and we'll see why later, but I do need it to intersect with my line. So I'm just going to grab from my constraints menu, and again, I've got nothing selected here. So if I've got this point selected, and I choose something from my constraints menu, it's going to think I want to do that constraint to that thing that I have selected, and I do not. I want to choose the tool first. So I click off here into no man's land. Then I can choose my coincident constraint. I can choose this point, and this line, and then this point, and this line. And now, that is exactly the curve that I want to see here. I'm going to click Finish Sketch. I'm going to do a little housekeeping over here. I got a sketch to name. This is my lens profile, or lens shape, I guess is a better word for that. And then this is my lens curve. All right, so now I'm going to leave the comfort of my solid workspace here, and I'm going to go to my surface workspace. So from my surface workspace here, I'm going to grab the revolve option, and I'm going to pick this line, and then is the axis that I'm going to revolve around. It's giving me an error here, and the reason I've got an error is because my line goes across both sections there. So if I right click and I say edit sketch, I'm just going to grab the trim tool, and I'm just going to trim off these parts of this line. Now I don't have a fully constrained sketch anymore, so I think what I'm going to do to make it fully constrained is if I add a line here, this line is giving me two constraints right off the bat that I want to see. So A, I'm getting a right angle constraint, and B, I'm getting a tangent constraint. So those are those two. One is the circle, and the other is the little blue rectangle there, or blue square. Those are both constraints that I want to add here. I'm going to make this wrong so we can add them after the fact. So if I just make a line so I don't have those little blue things popping up, the constraints that I want to add here are, again, I'm going to make this line perpendicular to this. And then if I grab my tangent constraint, I'm going to make this arc tangent to that line. In my mind, that should have fully constrained it, but I guess the length is not what's constrained here. Oh, and I lost my tangent constraint, or my constraint there. So I'm just going to grab my coincident constraint and re-add that. There we go. So for some reason, when I trimmed, it lost that constraint. And that's part of the reason why the line wasn't fully constrained. Okay, now I can, from the surface create menu, I'm going to grab the surface revolve. I'm going to grab that line, create, revolve, and then I'm going to revolve it around that line right there. And you'll see the key here about this revolve is it extends out past the boundaries of our shape. If our convex lens shape here does not extend out beyond the boundaries of our lens shape, then we got a problem. You just need to make that line longer. But we are fine right now. And now from my create, here, tell you what, I've got a body. I've got a surface body. I'm going to name this my lens curve. And now from my Create menu, I'm going to choose the Thicken option. I can pick the body here in my browser, or I can pick it out in my drawing view. I'm going to thicken it by 1 millimeter and say OK. Now this body is my lens. I'm going to go back to my solid working environment. I'm going to grab the extrude tool and I'm going to extrude out my lens shape. I'm going to extrude it symmetrically because my lens shape, my sketch probably lives somewhere in the middle of this curve. And I want it to take up fully on top and bottom here. In fact, what I'm going to do is instead of extruding this a distance, an extend type of distance, I'm going to extrude it an extend type of all. And what that'll do is it'll just, actually, it is not. Is it? It is not. You can see it's not extruding out all, and I'm not sure why it's not extruding out all. If I change that to inner, yeah, it is not extruding out all. So I'm going to extrude it out a distance because all's not working. Just going to make sure that distance is, plenty far. And I'm going to change the operation from cut to intersect. And then when I say OK, and I hide the visibility on the two sketches, you can see, I didn't go far enough up, apparently, because I had a little flat spot. That is our lens shape. And this worked out to be pretty close to what this actual lens shape was. If you're drawing your own lens, which I highly encourage, because you want to make your own pair of sunglasses, you don't want to make the pair that I've made. That's boring. If you draw on your own lens, the thing that I've done to test this shape and the curve together is I'm going to go back to the lens shape that we made, and I'm going to edit the sketch. I'm going to grab my offset tool. So from the modify menu, choose offset here, and I'm going to pick that lens curve, and I'm just going to extend it out like 3 millimeters. Apparently it has to be a negative 3 millimeters in this case. And then I'm going to say finish sketch. Now, what I want to do here is I'm going to extrude out. I'm going to turn on, I'm not going to turn it off. I'm going to turn on my lens shape. I'm going to extrude out this shape here, just so we go up beyond the surface of our curve. And I guess we need to go down too, because we want it to exist down below the surface of our curve. So I'm going to make this symmetric as well. Just go 5 millimeters up, 5 millimeters down. Instead of join, we're going to make this a new body, because we don't want to join this to our lens. And now I'm going to extrude out another shape. So from my Create menu, I'm going to grab the Extrude option. That's the thing that I'm going to extrude. My start of my extrusion, I'm going to start it from an object. And the object that I'm going to start from is going to be the bottom, this bottom surface here. And I'm also going to not extrude a distance. I'm going to extrude to an object. And the object is going to be my lens. Now I'm going to turn off my lens. So I'm extruding to it, but when I join these things together, when my operation is joined, it's not going to join this shape to my lens. It's going to join the shape to this ring that I made here. So join, and I'm going to say OK. And then I can name this body. This body is my lens. Check. Cool. So, I tell you what, just to make it pretty, I'm gonna add a chamfer to these top edges of like 0.5 millimeters. Um, and there we go. Now we've got a way to check the shape and fit of our lenses here. So what you can do is you can 3D print this. That's what I did. I tell you what, let me grab it. You can 3D print one of these things, right? And and I've got the wrong lens. I've got the right side, not the left side. And then you can drop it in, and you can see it fits nice and snug. And that's what we want here. So, so you can check the curve. You can kind of put it in place and kind of wiggle it around, see if it's, push on it and see if you got the curve correct. And if it fits in there, that you're probably 90% of the way there to it fitting in your pair of sunglasses. So that is a good check to do. Next week, we're going to put together the lens with the scan of our heads and make some lens frame or some sunglasses frames. So that is it for this class. We will see you next week.